everybody. It is super great to see that this is turning into a standing room only event. There's so many people here. So I like to start a little bit with a little bit of energy and cheer, being a protester and activist myself. So are you guys excited to be here? We can do better than that. Are you guys excited to be here? That's great. Well, we are super excited to have you guys here. This is the 10th anniversary of my dad's passing, but in this regard, we are celebrating the life and legacy of my father. This year has been kind of a lot of coincidences, and my dad never believed there was coincidences. It's been a very cosmic year. As I'll tell you a little bit more about, there's a film coming out. This year we wanted to make this platform, this space, the Bob Hunter Memorial Lecture, a bigger and brighter event, which you have all already turned into a reality, so thank you all for coming out. And his story, his message of the media mind bomb, I think is disseminating once again, and I think if anything, his last mind bomb is going to be told more and more this year, and I hope inspire even more of the next generation of activists. Now, I have the distinct pleasure of getting to introduce Thomas Hart, who is professor of philosophy at UTSC in Ryerson, and I think my father being as much as an activist and a leader, he was also a thought leader and a philosopher himself on our world and our worldview. So I think this is an appropriate speaker for today. He's currently working on the philosophy of education in the commodified technological society and the language of knowledge. That's not a mouthful, I don't know what is, but very important work nonetheless. And before an assistant professor of philosophy and classics at the University College of Utrecht, I think I'm pronouncing that probably incorrectly. Thank you. And a longtime supporter of Greenpeace, and also a little bit of nepotism here. He is my brother-in-law. But truth be told, I think the best speaker for today's lecture, and we are very honored to have him speak. He'll be speaking about my father, who was definitely an environmental leader, definitely a thought leader, but he liked to refer to himself as an eco-shit disturber. Bending what was normal, bending what was acceptable, and taking risks of himself, going beyond your comfort zone, whether that mean putting yourself out on a boat and literally putting yourself in a test blast to try to stop a US nuclear test of Mchika, or whether that was just making a stand in your community, your neighborhood, saying, say, for example, the tar sands is not right to put our whole economic policy on. Whatever it is, he showed that people have to get outside their comfort zone and act courageously. He had many different ideas and quotes, and a few that I would like to share with you today. My dad, most of all, was a very human, down-to-earth person, and he didn't think of himself as a hero as much as maybe today we might think of him as a hero. But he said there are no heroes, there are only opportunities. And I think that's very distinct to the millions, if not billions, of acts of courage that are happening today. I believe my dad's idea of warriors of the rainbow, that there was a diversity of people that would come together to make change, is very much happening. We are seeing millions, if not billions of people affecting small, incremental, and large-scale changes and coming together in a way that we haven't seen before, particularly around the issue of climate change. And I would like to thank particularly the scholars today who are going to be receiving a scholarship for doing their acts of courage and doing their acts of leadership, and we will get to honor them later this evening. But my dad had some fun quotes. He also kind of put things into context of what we're facing. If we don't get it right this time, we'll be lucky to come back as so-called amoebas next time. So I think there is a sense of urgency to the work that we're doing, and I think he was ahead of his time in many ways. More of my dad's story you'll hear tonight in this lecture, but also I'd like to give an additional invitation. As much as you came out tonight, and we really appreciate it, there is the story of my dad and the birth of Greenpeace finally going to be told in a documentary film that we've been working on for 35 years. But it's finally coming out at Hot Docs, premiering, just to do a little bit of a plug here. It's going to be premiering on April 26th. We'd like you to come out and continue to see some of the story of my father, see some of his philosophy on screen. But also I'd like to ask if you'd like to continue the conversation with us. We are this year starting a mailing list where we want to keep engaged with you guys on continuing the story and keeping up with updates around some of my father's legacy projects, including the film, as well as other projects we're involved in. So we really would like to continue to have the conversation with you around mind bombs and around today's environmental movement and continuing the story of my father. So I invite you to join us in that conversation. But without further ado, I would like to introduce Thomas Hart.